We did it again. We found something I have not seen. I've heard of this one, but had not seen it. We found a body horror, alien-inspired, shot on a shoestring budget, almost video nasty. Raise your hands digitally if you've ever heard of XTRO before. Okay, cool. Now raise your hands in those comments if you've ever seen it, and bonus points if you knew this wild movie was the first entry in a series. By all accounts, the four writers on this movie imbibed in their mood changer of choice and went to town on making this a very special and very messed up version of E.T., where the extraterrestrial shows up angry and plays for keeps. With a strange plot, fun special effects, odd casting choices, and one of the most downbeat endings of the early 80s, XTRO achieves far more than it should have given what it is and how it got there. Join me for a dysfunctional family and the black sheep of early 80s sci-fi horror.
How long we got?
Long enough.
XTRO came to be when writer and eventual director Harry Bromley Davenport brought the script, or at least an outline of the script, that he and friend Michael Perry had written to a producer named Mark Forstater. Forstater wasn't new to the producing game, as he had helped get Monty Python and the Holy Grail made, but this didn't have the clout of a popular British troupe of comedians involved either. On the other side of the ocean, Bob Shaye and New Line hadn't quite struck gold with The Nightmare on Elm Street, but had some success with movies like Alone in the Dark, or even just distribution like Evil Dead and some of the Sonny Chiba films from Toei. They agreed to be the US distributor on XTRO, and that helped make the movie very profitable on paper. With its very low budget of $60,000, it was able to bring back $1 million. Not quite Blair Witch levels of return on investment, sure, but way better than it could have been. Perry had written the awesome feline horror anthology The Uncanny in 1977, and Davenport had written and directed the low-budget Whispers of Fear, which made some money and bring in some critical praise with it too. The two men only had the outline of a script really, though, so they would get help from Robert Smith and Ian Cassie. Neither man had written a screenplay before, but Cassie was an assistant director on Schizo from 1977, and since I probably won't have the chance to discuss that once again, please go watch Schizo. It's great and very rarely talked about. Smith would go on to do the screenplay for the first of two completely unrelated XTRO sequels, but not a whole heck of a lot outside the TV realm. The cast would include Philip Sayre, who was primarily a TV actor, but would also show up in 1983's Slayground and The Hunger with David Bowie, Bernice Steggers from Macabre, and Miriam Dabo, I don't think I said that right, who would eventually be a Bond girl for Timothy Dalton in The Living Daylights. Filming took 6 weeks, and the movie was originally slated for a 1982 release, but that would be pushed back to March of 1983 in the UK. So what is XTRO? It's a fever dream of an alien abduction movie that is one part David Cronenberg, one part David Lynch, and a smattering of smart choices with a very small budget. The movie opens with a father and son playing together outside when the father, Sam Phillips, is abducted by a blinding light. 3 years have passed and nobody seems to believe the young boy Tony in what happened to his dad. The mom and wife Rachel believes that Sam either ran off or was killed and has since moved on with her life dating American photographer Joe, and having a live-in au pair help take care of Tony. Tony, as it turns out, is a lucky kid because his French au pair is played by the stunning Miriam Dabo. One night we see what looks like a shooting star. We've seen this before in Night of the Creeps or The Blob, to name a couple, and out comes an alien. Kudos to them for not just going with the typical Gray Man version. Instead, they hired a contortionist mime and had them walk on their hands. This is after it grows itself out of a pool of goo. While up close it doesn't look super convincing, the filmmakers used what they had to deliver some fairly compelling frights. In fact, the next scene when a car hits the poor guy is somehow unnerving and weird in a good jump scare kind of way that is rarely seen. So this couple hits the alien invader and the male passenger goes looking for it, which shows that they clearly didn't see the thing I saw because there's no way in hell I'm going to the woods after that guy. In a scene that's way too reminiscent of James Gunn's Slither, the guy finds and touches the creature before getting killed. The creature then turns its sights on the woman who also doesn't make it. While the movie doesn't have the highest body count of the early 80s, they make them count when someone does get the axe or, alien tongue. The XTRO finds a secluded house with a nice blonde woman and her dog before pulling a page out of a Roger Corman movie and impregnating the nice woman with a very different kind of alien invader. This is where the body horror enters, and the movie begins to show at least shades of Cronenberg. It's an unconventional scene with the creature using an appendage, no, not that one, to put the DNA into the woman through her mouth, and of course, the life cycle is a lot faster on these bad boys than on humans. At the same time, the little boy Tony seems to have a psychic connection to the alien, and this is where the on-screen action demonstrates what a bunch of writers passing a joint around can accomplish. No, really, the director Davenport on the DVD commentary even says that he and the other writers sat around on drugs and literally threw whatever they wanted to into the story. You'll see more of that later. That poor woman and her dog are absolutely going through it. The dog eats what remains of the alien while the woman goes through a rather advanced pregnancy. Her belly inflates in another great example of the movie's effects showcase, and she doesn't look like she's having a good time. This is exacerbated when she gives birth to a whole-ass man. Not an alien or a baby, but just a middle-aged dude named Sam. That's the guy from the beginning if you're paying attention. He cleans himself off like this is just a Tuesday for him and goes out to seek his family. Much of the movie here turns into a bit of a family drama for the next big chunk. Sam tries to return to his family while the new boyfriend is admittedly, and honestly I get it, kind of a jerk. Can you blame him? There are lots of passive-aggressive and then aggressive-aggressive battle of wits, and a couple of strange things in between. Sam eats his son's snake's eggs, totally normal, and the neighbor crushes the snake into her salad. This elicits a completely sane and normal response where Tony decides to avenge his snake by summoning a little person circus ringmaster who brings one of the boy's toy soldiers to life. This isn't like the Stephen King story where the actual toys attack. Oh no, the toy soldier is full size with a working gun of sorts and strange movements. Remember the drugs I talked about? Here are the fruits of their labor. Oh, and a panther for reasons. The large and creepy looking soldier kills off the older neighbor, and nobody seems to notice as they have their own problems going on. Sam and Rachel decide to go off to the place where he was abducted to try to get rid of his amnesia, while Tony is getting watched by Annalise and her boyfriend at the flat. Annalise is captured during a game of hide-and-seek and somehow entombed in a chrysalis by Tony, who has alien powers to go along with his telepathy. Davenport was mortified by the movie upon its release, even though it made $1 million on its tiny budget. He lightened up on his stance though as the movie gained a cult status and was even the man to direct the 2 sequels, one of which I own on Blu-ray as Vinegar Syndrome released it a few years back. Annalise's boyfriend finds her cocooned, and she eventually lays eggs unwillingly in another thing that Cronenberg was probably like, yeah, this guy gets it. Sam and Rachel rekindle things while the poor boyfriend at the house is killed off by that freaking panther I was talking about earlier. Poor Tony gets bored with nobody to play with, and he goes off to find Mom with the help of her boyfriend Joe. They go to the farm where Rachel is ready to go as Sam's human form has finally fallen apart, and he's trying to reproduce with her to have a full alien child. Unable to do that, he lures Tony out with him to a bright light and kills off Joe with the power of we ran out of special effects budget. Joe is dead, and Rachel now has lost her boyfriend, ex-husband, and son as alien Sam takes Tony away with him. Nothing left for her, Rachel heads back home only to discover the not-at-all water balloon eggs before she is impregnated in a similar fashion as the poor woman from earlier. That's actually the director's cut ending though, as the original has a bunch of Tony clones having hatched from the eggs and rubbing the stomach of the now pregnant Rachel. While that may seem like a slightly better ending, it's probably doomed for the world. Either way, we get some grade A nihilism that works for this strange entry. The movie has been released a handful of times on DVD, usually as a pack with its sequels or other forgotten movies. You can buy a region-free Blu-ray from Second Sight Films that has great special features and any version of the movie that exists. Upon release, in addition to making decent money as a return on investment, the movie was originally slapped with the dreaded Video Nasty label. It went away after being approved with some cuts, but that designation usually does more good than harm in the long run, and is probably part of the reason it has cult status and fond memories from its fans. XTRO may not be anyone's favorite movie of all time, but it's much better than it has any right to be. Its failings show up, to be sure, the music for one, but also the acting and the strange story that doesn't really hold up, but it got the right amount of exploitation sleaze and some wonderful effects that make it a must-watch and easily one of the best black sheep alien horror films of the entire decade.
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. JoBlo was created by movie fans for movie fans, and we appreciate your support.